What's up, guys? This is Ryan from Horror Hive, and I'm here with Mr. Tony Gardner, a makeup effects artist. He's worked on such films as Zombieland, 127 Hours, and he also designed the helmets for the group Daft Punk. He's agreed to talk to us today, so let's talk to him. First of all, Mr. Gardner, how did you get your start in makeup effects?
Oh boy, I started making my own films when I was a kid, and my first chance working professionally was on Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Oh, really?
Rick Baker hired me to be a runner for 4 weeks, and by the end of that, I ended up becoming a zombie, and we all got to build characters on ourselves and be in it. And then he offered to keep me on, and I ended up being there for about 4 years, and it was pretty much on-the-job training.
And Thriller, is such a classic video, and there's so many kind of iconic little moments in it. I mean, being on that set for you, did you feel kind of an energy of this is something that's going to be pretty interesting?
Yeah, I was 19 at the time, so it was all new and it was all exciting, and I realized then that this is kind of what I wanted to do because I enjoyed every step of the whole process, and I got to be a part of all of it. I went in during editing, and John Landis showed me how things were done. He was editing the behind-the-scenes stuff at the time, and I learned a lot in a very short period of time, and realized that I wanted to, if I could do it professionally, I'd want to. So
Absolutely, yeah. So you worked on that under Rick Baker, and then you kind of over time you formed your own company.
Eventually.
Yeah. And so, what was the first project you worked on for yourself, as as your own?
The first thing for me by myself was I was actually still working at Rick's during the day, and in the evenings I was doing Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It was a short-term thing though. I only had I had less than 3 weeks worth of work on it, but I got to build a half corpse and do a bunch of stuff that I'd never done before. For myself, which was really exciting and really scary at the same time because I was only 21 at that point, and probably better that I was oblivious to what was involved and just willing to dive in because the amount of work was kind of unrealistic, especially having a full-time job, but I really enjoyed it, and that's what kind of motivated me to think I could start my own place.
And then, of course, a few years later, you worked on the film Hocus Pocus, which I know a lot of people out there certainly enjoy. What was that working? What was working on that like?
That was great because I actually pushed for this unknown guy who'd been in some McDonald's commercials playing Mac Tonight to be this zombie that we were going to build. Because I'd seen him in those commercials, and I was like, the guy's amazing. He has a ton of energy, super physical, and I know that head's got to be miserable, and he still makes it look like fun.
Yeah.
It's like if he could tolerate that, he could probably tolerate us. And then we met him, and it was, obvious that he would be the character. And it's always like the job's 50-50. The makeup effects is half of it, but the actor carrying it and wearing it is what sells it or not. And he brought more than 50% to the deal, so he made our job really easy. But that was the first thing where we were really doing a complete character from start to finish, and that was really exciting.
And then you kind of grew in prominence in the 90s, working on many films. And then at the turn of the century, you collaborated with Daft Punk to create their sort of disguises. Talk a little bit about that.
They had worn a lot of different things prior to that. They'd always just grab some mask off the shelf, and they said, we need to come up with something that's us, that's our identity, not just us hiding, but us hiding with some sort of focus, like Kiss, And then the question was, what sort of direction did they want to go? And they'd work with Alex and Martine, two directors out of France, on a couple of their earlier music videos, and those two are super artistic. And all of those guys sat down and did some pencil sketches, and then came out and met with us and showed us that, and that's kind of where it all started. We did head casts of the guys, and then we just grabbed some clay and started trying to figure it out. The technical logistics were just massive, though, because they had to breathe, they had to see, they had to be able to walk around. The whole thing had to be portable.
Yeah.
Nobody had done anything with color-changing LEDs, really, at that point, other than a company up in San Francisco that did the Jumbotron screens for sports arenas.
So you were kind of, a little bit ahead of your time because, now it's maybe a bit more,
It's totally accessible now. It's like the technology is so streamlined and so much easier, so much more user-friendly now than it was back then. I mean, if I was to do it now, it wouldn't be a challenge. I'd need to add another layer to it to, turn it into something else. But at the time, it was pretty overwhelming.
And just out of curiosity, what is your favorite sort of creation that you've made?
Oh boy, for me, I really like a lot of what we've done. The fact that we've been able to do different things, like either prosthetic makeups or robot helmets. For me, it's more about the people that we work with, and that's even hard because we've worked with so many good people at this point. We've just been very fortunate. I have a lot of things I've worked on that I actually really like. It's harder to think of something that was a bad experience than it is anything else. Yeah. So.
And last question here, what's your favorite horror movie?
Alien. Yeah. I always thought of it as kind of like a scary haunted house kind of movie. But the boogeyman was an alien and you're on a ship instead of a big haunted house. So that and American Werewolf, obviously. So there you go.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir.
You got it.
And we'll see you guys next time.